Alright, looks like we are. Let me see. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Hello. Okay, look at that. Little bit of an audio delay there, but thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Friday, June the 12th, broadcasting to you guys from the DCF studio here on the south side of Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. All right, let's go ahead, pull up the chat here. Thank you guys for coming to hang out for another episode of DCF Live. Let me know if you guys can hear me, if you can see me, and if everything else is good to go. Yep, we can hear you. Awesome. Good stuff. So, today, I want to start the show by talking a little bit more about these here chunky dunky Jordan 1s. And hopefully you guys were able to come and catch us last week for the live stream, the 10-hour live stream of painting these. Hopefully you saw the follow-up video where we did the sock liner, touched up a couple other little things here and there, finished some stuff on the tongue, did all the other little details that we weren't able to get to in the stream. And a question that I actually received a ton that I think is worth talking about to start the show at least is, so, hey, Dylan, you know, you said you probably think you could get this done in about 10 hours or so. And so, you know, at this point, you would probably give your client that price. And how would you go about that? Would you tell your client that, hey, these took longer than expected, now I need to charge you more? Or what would you do in a situation like that? Because ultimately, these probably actually ended up taking me about 20 hours to do. And I had initially said I could probably get them done in about 10 hours. So what would you do in a situation like that? Well, I think first off, you need to be a person of your word. Otherwise, you know, what do you have? Let your word mean something. And if you tell a customer that it's going to be a set price beforehand, you give them a quote for something, I don't think it's right to really go back on that. And I think it's more important to then over-deliver. Now, the reason these ended up taking so much longer is because of all the little things like trying to make, you know, the texture in the cowhide, whether it be on the white panels, in the black spots, building out some softer gradients within those hills, doing the drop shadow on the drip, on the swoosh, you know, taking the time to do the sock liner correctly. All those things are things that ended up really adding to the total time that I could have simplified. I could have done them in a little bit of a simpler way, whether I would have just had the panels completely white and the spots completely black. Those are things that would have saved a lot of time. However, those are things that to me really give this shoe life. These are what really make it an awesome piece of art, in my opinion, and something that I'm super proud of, something that I'm glad to put my name behind. And I mentioned, but this is actually a personal pair. So this is a pair that I'm going to be wearing. I've already worn them for some on-foot shots and things like that. I wanted actually also to intentionally wear white socks with them and see how the sock liner holds up, since we're dealing with a tie-dye sock liner. So there's a ton of different color going on in there and stuff. So I wanted to wear white socks and see if it would rub off or whatnot, see what would happen. And we actually took the on-foot shots the same day that I had finished painting the sock liner. So it's not like it had multiple days to dry or anything like that. So with that, give me one sec here, guys. I just have to respond to a message real quick. And so with that, I thought that was awesome because, you know, it might still be a little wet. There's a chance of that. And because, you know, it's a softer material, the sock liner, so those typically can take a few days to dry. But what really cooks the paint in there is the heat setting. And I really heat set these very, very well. And I've worn them a little bit, and the sock liner is still completely intact. There was no paint rubbing off, so I'm very pleased with that. But now I really want to get some real wear testing in with these. We might do a entire video, a separate follow-up video that would be entirely dedicated to what happens after wearing these for a few months. You know what I mean? As far as the number one thing people deal with when it comes to paint cracking is in high crease areas. So on a Jordan 1 and Air Force 1 on your toe box, you are going to run into a lot of creasing. So you know, what's actually going to happen with that. I know that's something that we've talked a little bit about in the past, potentially doing, but that's something that I definitely want to talk about with these, and I plan on wearing the heck out of these. And yeah, this is a pair that I'm super pumped about. I love how these turned out. I really love the Dunks. The Nike SB line is what really got me into sneakers, so to see them do some cool collabs and have some dope releases, that really gets me excited. So 127 people in the chat. That is awesome stuff. Thank you guys for being here. So yeah, so back to the pricing for these. So, you know, if you ended up putting a lot more time into a pair than you had initially planned, I think that that's it's just always really important to essentially over deliver to your clients. You know what I mean? Really blow them away. And if essentially they maybe thought they were getting something from you that takes about, you know, 10 hours or so, now you give them a 20-hour piece, they're going to see that additional love put into the pair. Over deliver to them, because now they're going to not only want to order from you in the future, but they're going to talk about how much of a pleasant experience they had and really refer you to friends and family and anybody who asks them when they're wearing their custom shoes out. So that's really important. Just always over deliver, over deliver, over deliver, over deliver, over deliver. I can't say that enough. Whether, you know, when it comes to things like the packaging and the experience that you give a client, just always go ahead and over deliver. That is super important stuff. So good stuff, guys. Now let's go ahead and see what we have going on here in the chat. Let me see here. Let's see here. I see some stuff about a finisher, and what I used for these was the Liquid Kicks matte finisher. That is good stuff. I see a question about how to paint a sock liner. Go ahead and check out a video. We have a video on how we did this sock liner specifically. What it's going to be a lot better of an idea to airbrush the sock liner rather than hand paint it, because more paint is applied when you paint something by hand than when you airbrush it. So that's going to be a much better solution. You're going to get just a softer, more factory type feel to your sock liner. And then the most important step, even more important than making sure you use the right amount of 2Soft, is heat setting. You really want to heat set in like 30-second spurts, and you want to do that a lot, and it's going to keep it nice and soft. And I'm telling you, these feel just as close to factory softness as they did before I even painted them. So that's what you're going for, because the last thing you want is for a client to feel like they're putting their feet into some sandpaper or something like that. So I also think it'd be a really cool idea. I might need some separate streaming software, but I would love to one day have kind of the question that I'm answering during the chat pop up on the screen. That'd be really cool. I looked up some tutorials today, and it seems like the people who are able to do that use a separate software called Streamlabs. And I'm not opposed to it. I use OBS Studio, but I just have a lot of stuff already set up, which is kind of nice. But one day I would definitely like to have that. So let's see here. Josip Irakovic says, how do you suggest I paint the laces? Sink them in paint or paint them with the paintbrush? What's the better option? So we have a video on how you can actually dye your laces. Essentially, what I do is dip them into a mixture that's going to be roughly a 1-to-1 ratio, similar to how you would paint a sock liner. And you're going to dip the laces in there, and then you want to strain out all the paint, because there's going to be a lot of excess paint within the laces. You really want to strain that all out, do that again, dip them again, strain it all out again, and then heat set them very thoroughly, similar to a sock liner, in about 30-second spurts. Leave them to dry overnight, throw them over a clothesline or something like that, and that's how you can have a custom color pair of laces. Sean says, when I used 2Soft to paint Toms, the shoe turned out a little sticky only on the red painted area. Do you know why this is happening? Sean, I would likely say you probably need a little bit more heat setting. But Toms, yeah, since Toms are canvas, yeah, I would probably recommend, you also might have just applied, the paint might have been applied a little thick. You might have done those by hand. Ideally, maybe that's done with an airbrush, and that's how you're going to keep things a little bit softer. So this way you don't run into that sticky finish. Let's see. Let's see. We got a ton of people in the chat. Thank you guys again for joining us. Let's see. David Mosh says, how do you get a consistent coat with Krylon spray? Super, 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 super light coats with the Krylon spray. Also, another thing, if you're ever going to be using something like a Krylon spray, it's extremely important to really shake it up beforehand. And then what you also want to do to clear the nozzle is turn it upside down and spray the nozzle clear up against a wall or against the ground or something like that. You really want to clear out that nozzle before you apply the spray finisher onto your shoes, because sometimes if there's a lot of stuff, if you got a dirty nozzle, some of that stuff can get sprayed onto your shoes, and I've had some weird stuff happen where you're not able to recover from. You really have to strip down the area again. So it's really important to make sure that that's shaked up really well and you always clear out that nozzle. JB Custom says, what high gloss finisher would you recommend for a patent leather look? So JB, if you check out a video, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'm not even sure what the video is called. Let me see what it's called exactly. But we have a video on that. It is called How to Achieve a High Gloss versus Matte Finish Tutorial. I like the Liquid Kicks High Gloss. There is some stronger versions of high gloss in a spray can. However, those never really curate. They never really dry. So if you ever touch the area where you applied the finisher, even multiple days later after it should be very dry, you still are likely to get some fingerprints and stuff left behind. So, and you also need to apply it super thick. So I'm a fan of the Liquid Kicks high gloss finisher. That is good stuff. Let's see here. Let's see. Gavin says, how do you stop paint from peeling on custom shoes? By the way, you have a great channel, Gavin. The most important thing to prevent paint from peeling on your custom shoes is going to be similar to the foundation of a house. That's what, obviously holds a house up. So it's going to be all in your prep work. Prep work is everything when it comes to durability. Customizing with Shaq says, question for my family. Do you have to be an artist to customize shoes? You do not, but do you have to be an athlete to play sports? No, you don't have to, but it certainly helps. You know what I mean? Similar to how a lot of athletes can kind of hop into other sports and seemingly pretty decent at the sport right off the bat. That's just because they have, athleticism. So similar to how if you're just a talented artist, if you're just a creative, when you hop into customizing shoes, you're going to be pretty decent right off the bat. But similar to how you can become more athletic, you can also become more artistic. And that's just done through practice and putting in countless hours into the craft. Okay, let's see here. Let us see here. Jamie Wiley says, what software you recommend for Cameo 3 and what vinyl and transfer tape do you think is best? Jamie, if you go ahead and check out the description to this video, if you click that, we have a recommended video section. There's 4 videos in there, 4 of what I consider some of the most important videos that we've made on our channel. And if you check out the video called How to Make a Multi-Layer Stencil, it's about a 30-minute video, but it is jam-packed with information, and it talks about all those things. But the software we use for the Cameo 3 is the software that comes with it. It's called Silhouette Studio. So Silhouette is the company that makes the Silhouette Cameo. And so they also have their own software, which you cut the stencils in. That's called Silhouette Studio. The vinyl I typically recommend is going to be Oracal 811. And the transfer tape I typically recommend is going to be Green Star Lay Flat Classic Transfer Tape. All of that really gets talked in deep discussion in that video. So check that out. Alvaro Molina says, how do you paint the patent leather on Jordan 11s? I actually never recommend painting patent leather. You'll see some people do it. I don't think it's something that has long-term durability. Even no matter how you prep it, you'll see a lot of people do it actually, but I just don't think that it's something that will really, really hold up. So I try to avoid it at all cost. Let's see here. Scotty's Custom Kick says, hey Dylan, first time watching one of your live streams. Quick question regarding social media. Should you have content to show from the beginning, or could you add them content as you go along? So Scotty, I think you might be asking, should you have content at the beginning of a project maybe? Should you show progress? Kind of here I'm starting a new project and maybe I'm going to be working on it for the next week or two. And should I show progress? Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. You know, you can definitely do that. Let me make sure I'm reading the question right, because I think that's what you're saying. Should you have content to show from the beginning, or could you add them as you go along? The only other way you might be referring to is, let's say you're just starting out. Should you post all of your content from the start, or should you wait till you have a ton? No, I think either way, whichever question you intended to ask, either way, I think it's okay to show more than show less. I think more content is extremely important when you're just starting out. When you're just starting out, I think it is a matter of quantity. You know what I mean? I think that's, you still, of course, want a high quality to your content, but quantity is also very important when starting out. So yes, let's see here. Chat is flying today. Flying. Let's see here. Let's see here. Venora. Sorry if I said that wrong. Venora, I think. How to charge customs from buying the shoes to designing, then shipping. Also, if you check out, if you guys are interested in what I have to say about pricing, we have another great video that I'll recommend to you. If you check out the description for this video, it's going to be there. It's called What You Should Be Charging. I just kind of give you a lot of the things to consider when you're coming up with your pricing, because it's really going to be, that has to be something that's decided by you. That's something that gets a little bit easier with time, but sort of like how I talked about in the beginning of this stream, it's something that's kind of always changing. And even on a pair like this that I thought would take me 10 hours, it ultimately ended up taking me 20. Sometimes it's hard to price custom shoes and artwork because sometimes it takes longer than expected. And then, you know, let's say I was making a pair for a client like this, and I spent all this time doing them, and it's one of my favorite pairs I've done. I might want to do something even extra than what I had initially planned. I might want to get an even more custom box than the boxes we already have. I might want to go out and get a custom dust bag or something like that, or, you know, a custom insert for the box. I might want to do even more to make the packaging even that much more special. So pricing is tough, but, you know, there's not a black and white answer of what should you charge. You know what I mean? It's not like every single person in this chat right now, it says to me there's 138 people in here. Not every single person should charge $20 an hour. Some people should charge $20 an hour. Some of the people in this chat are talented enough to charge $100 an hour. There's some people in the chat that are talented enough to charge $300 an hour. It just depends. So let's see. Let us see here. Tons of good questions going on in the chat. Repsy is on spam patrol. That is a good thing we have our buddy Repsy in the chat. Thank you for that, buddy. Let's see. Daniel Valdivia. I always like to at least try to get names right. I certainly want to at least try. So Daniel Valdivia says, what camera are you using for this stream? We use a Canon EOS R. Sometimes we shoot stuff on the iPhone, and then other times we use a Canon 5D Mark III. So we have two DSLRs, and then a lot of times if we need a third camera, we will use a iPhone. So you can do a lot of great stuff with your iPhone for sure. James Yee says, are Posca pens good on shoes? I see Marco using them a lot. I'll never recommend Posca pens. I don't really recommend any markers or anything like that. Unfortunately, they're not something to me that has long-term durability. CW Customs coming in with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. Says, take a breather, chat. We need more mods. Yes, the chat is wild today. We have a ton of people in here, so thank you guys for joining us. That is awesome to see. Glad to have a active chat. Thank you guys so much for coming in here, asking some questions, hanging out. The community in here is awesome. There's so many of you that like to answer other people's questions because you know there are questions that we kind of get every single week in here. And I really don't have an issue answering a lot of the same questions because to me, if you were to put yourself on this side of the camera, that means that there's potentially new people finding us, joining this community, hanging out with us here on this channel. So that's awesome. You know what I mean? And at this point, we have probably close to 150 videos. So if you find a new YouTuber that has 150 videos, it's pretty hard to go and revisit every single one of these videos. You know what I mean? So if somebody's in here and for the first time they have a question that you guys know we have a video on, how can I do this with the splatter print? Something we've covered. What airbrush do you use? Do I have to use too soft and too thin? You know what I mean? Those are super common questions, but they may have just discovered us for the first time, and it's hard to go back and find that video in a catalog of 150. So really, it's awesome to see this community growing constantly. So thank you guys again for joining. Let's see. David Mosh says, do you recommend wearing your customs for brand awareness? Absolutely. You have to be a what is it called? A walking billboard for yourself. You have to. It is so incredibly important that you are a walking billboard for your custom shoes, because people are going to come up to you and ask, and that's when you're going to pull out your Instagram, say follow me here, or hand them a business card, something like that. So you, all your family, all your friends, everybody in your little circle has to be wearing your custom shoes and supporting you, and that's how you can quickly grow, that's for sure. Matt Huron with a cool question. Dylan, quick question. When doing photography, how do I take a floating shoe picture? So the way that we do it is what we like to do is a lot of different ways you could do it. The simplest way that we've found is lift up the insole, take an additional pair of shoelaces, and duct tape the shoelaces underneath the insole. Now put the insole back, cover up your duct tape lace that's underneath your insole, and now you can hold the shoe up by you're holding it up by that shoelace, and you put it up against a wall or your backdrop, whatever the case may be. Have your camera on a tripod, take a picture, and then all you need to do is Photoshop out the lace, which is super easy to do. I mean, Photoshop software has gotten so good that you just literally select the lace and it will content aware fill the surrounding area and just fill it to be the same as the background. So the software just makes our job a whole lot easier. So that is the way that we go about it. Let's see. Matt Vivid Custom says, ever thought about grouping your videos in a playlist format? Yeah, we have that. We have a couple different playlists for like reviewing your customs has its own playlist. We have a tutorials playlist. I think there's like 40 videos in there. And then we have a playlist called business tips, and I think there's probably like 10 to 15 videos in there. So if you're just looking for tutorials, how to do something specifically, great idea to head there. If you're looking for business tips where we're not necessarily so much talking about how to paint, how to airbrush or how to paint a galaxy design, head to the business tips section and playlist, and that's where you're going to learn how to grow your business, how to start from the ground up, and things like that. So couple different playlists for things that you can definitely check out. Ron Customs coming in with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. Deej is a humblest goat. We appreciate it. Thank you, buddy. We appreciate you, Ron. Longtime supporter of the page. Ron's been with us for probably since we started YouTube, probably for seemingly almost 2 years, which is crazy. So thank you for that, Ron. Let's see. Samuel Weeks with a good question. This is one I get a lot too that I don't necessarily have the best answer for. What are your most used colors? What's a good base set? For your instance, I've seen you use mist a lot in your base coats. to then build up your color. Samuel, I'm really glad about the second part of your question, because that means you watch a lot of videos. You've heard me say those little things, like I use mist constantly for build up coats and things like that. And so yeah, as far as what colors do I use the most, certainly your primaries. You know what I mean? If you have your primaries, you can build out a lot of colors in between. So if you have your black, your white, your light gray, those aren't the primary colors, but those are some of the most commonly used ones. Your primaries of red, blue, yellow, and then green, purple, orange. Those are definitely some of the most commonly used colors. But outside of those, what are the most commonly used colors that I know I use a lot? Beige, play in the sand, sapphire, mint. I actually like mint a lot. I use pale blue a lot. And as far as browns go, I like rich brown a lot. I actually like tangerine a lot more than I like orange. I also like sapphire a lot more than I like blue. I use violet a lot. I use lilac a lot. So if you have the 6 primary colors, yes, you can build a lot of different shades of your colors. But sometimes it's a little bit better to get... I'm spoiled because I have every single color in paint form. I have an excess amount of paint, and when I answer this question, I want to put myself. I want to talk to 20-year-old Dylan DeJesus, and when I didn't have every color, when I only had a few colors in the little 1-ounce bottles, and I had a tiny little paint rack that I built out of foam core that was this big, working at my mom's kitchen table. You know, what were the colors I needed most then? So that's what I like to think to. Of course, it also depends on the type of designs you're doing and things like that. So when I first started, we were painting the KD Nerf colorway on everything. So I needed a ton of dark blue back then. Now I like to use the neons for a lot of stuff. So, you know, I'm constantly using the Tahitian pink and the flaming orange and the, what's the blue called? Bahama blue. You know what I mean? I love the Bahama blue, and I've used Bahama blue might be one of the most commonly used colors I've used over the last like 3-4 years, because it's very close to the Detroit Lions blue, and I've done so many Lions pairs since I started working with Eric Ebron years back. And even though he left the Lions 2 years ago, I still worked with a ton of his teammates. So I've used a ton of that color. So yeah, as long as you have the primaries, you can build out a lot of colors from there. But outside of the primaries, my then little kind of secondary most used colors, I'd say, would be sapphire, tangerine, violet, fire red. I use a lot of fire red, dark blue, beige, and play in the sand, and mint. Those are some of my most commonly used colors for sure. Definitely. Let's see here. Chat is flying. Hard for me to keep up today. I am super far back, so if I didn't get to your question, guys, believe me, there is just a ton going, and feel free to ask it again. Don't spam, because some of our mods might delete your question. We'll try to get to it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of other people who will seemingly answer a lot of your questions in the chat also, if they're a question that we might have answered before or already in the stream. So feel free to ask it again if we didn't get to it. David Mosh says, is Dexter named Dexter after the show? He sure is. So my name's Dylan DeJesus. My dad's name is David. My younger brother's name is Daniel. Both of our middle names are David. So I had to carry the tradition on with another D for my son, and it came down to Dexter or Diego. Those were where we landed. We had crossed off Derek, Darren, some of the other D names, and so we narrowed it down to Diego or Dexter. And Dexter is my all-time favorite show, so we landed on that. And I most likely will probably have to pay for a lot of therapy for him later in life when he asks where his name comes from. And he'll probably, when he's old enough, he's only 16 months now, they'll probably have their watches will be talking to them. And who knows where technology is going to be in 10 years, but he'll probably find out about the show and the roots of his names a lot earlier than we expect. So that's pretty funny. Let's see. It's just so funny to think about that. You just Google Dexter, you just Google your name, and that'll be the first thing that comes up, and it'll be the Wikipedia listing. Dexter is a show about a a good bad serial killer and stuff. So that is funny to think about. Funny to think about. Let's see here. Teamy's Custom Footwear says, are you going to check out Instagram accounts today? We might do that. We might get to that a little bit later. How are we doing on time? It is 5:04 now, Central Time here in Chicago, so we might do that. Let's see. Yeah, Matt Vivid says, just show him the cartoon. Exactly, Dexter's Laboratory. I'll just say, look, we named you after the boy genius. You know what I mean? DD, get out of my laboratory. That was a good one. That was a good one. Let's see. Joseph says, do I really have to use Nikes or any of the famous brands, or can I use cheap brandless sneakers for customization? Nikes or other famous brands can get expensive at first. If you're just looking for practice shoes, you do not have to. However, if you're trying to gain attention and of course you have the hope of a piece of your artwork going viral or getting attention, you have a higher chance of that happening on a more popular pair of sneakers. You know what I mean? So if you customize a pair of Air Force Ones or Jordan Ones, there's a higher chance of it gaining recognition or being viewed as cool than if you just paint a off-brand pair of slip-ons or something like that. So, but if you're just looking for practice, nothing wrong with that. Also, I posted something on my Instagram story yesterday. Shout out to our guy Rupsy. He had alerted me to it. There's a page. Let me see if I can pull it up for you guys. See if it's still on my story. Give me a sec here. Okay. Let's see. Yes. Cool. Let's flip over. There's a page called Sneaker Shouts. What they do is they typically post sneaker deals on the internet. So, you know, sometimes there's discounts on certain websites and things like that. So here we have some Stan Smiths and a lot of different colorways, and some of them they start as cheap as $35. So I'm trying to think of which pair I remember seeing was that cheap. It wasn't like an all-white pair. I can't remember specifically. Not all of them were $35, but this is an awesome base shoe. All leather. You can do a lot with this shoe, and this is just a great casual shoe. Like, this is a shoe that can be worn. A lot of designs will look great on this shoe. A classic low top. I love a good Stan Smith. So sometimes pay attention to a page like this, and you can just randomly find good deals. So Sneaker Shouts is the name of the page. Check them out, and you know, they just randomly post sneaker deals. Some other good base shoes here. It says these start as low as $45 with shipping. So this is a good page to follow, where randomly you can find some good deals on some great base shoes. Because yeah, base shoes can get expensive. That is for sure. Let's go ahead and flip back over here. Okay, let me see. Rupsy says, Alex Smith has a great question. Let me try to find that. Okay, so Alex Smith says, hey sir, what is your advice to a person that is trying to start a YouTube channel about customizing shoes? So I have a few different takes on that. One thing, this is one that I could talk about all day because it's something that I really enjoy. So I'll try not to rant too long, but one thing that I really like to do is find out what's popular in the niche specifically. So find out what works in the custom sneaker realm. So look at some big pages in the custom sneaker realm, such as, you know, a Marco, a Jordan Vincent, and Xavier Kicks, Art of a Visionary, Sophie Soph, Serato. Forgive me, there is so many great ones. Marco, Art of a Visionary, I know I said some of the other ones. Chris Custom Kicks. There's some great pages doing. I'm just naming some of the huge pages, okay? There's a ton of other great smaller creators that are doing awesome stuff. I'm just talking about some of the bigger ones, and see what's working. See the style of video that's working. Find out what is also a popular trend in other niches. So sometimes we borrow ideas from other niches. I'll always talk about the world of tattooing. And fun fact, I don't think I said this in a stream before, but the video that we put out this week, the second episode of Artist Guesses the Price of Custom Sneakers, where we guess the price of custom sneakers that you guys send in from your website listings, that was an idea that we took from the tattooing community on YouTube. They had a video on tattoo artists guess the price of tattoos from across the internet, and so we got the idea from there. So that's also another thing that you can do. Of course, experiment with your own style too. If you're going to grow, you're going to have your own style that people come back to. Look at a creator like Marco. People come back to him because his videos are very much his own. They're very much his personality. They're quirky, they're intentionally awkward, they're short. Everything's nice and tight, you know what I mean? Marco's not going to go on long-winded rants about something that's going to bore you. It's literally impossible to get bored in a Marco video because there's always so much going on. Whereas in our videos, I'll get a comment in tons of our videos, man, can you just get to the painting? There will be a timestamp in some of the videos. I can't talk today for some reason. I'm trying to talk too fast. My brain moves faster than my lips. There will be timestamps in our videos, and they'll say, oh, just skip to 4:15 because that's when he gets to the painting. Well, our page is about teaching and hopefully inspiring. So that entire 4 minutes and 11 seconds leading up to me painting is talking about why I'm doing something, what products I'm using, what materials I'm using, and why I'm doing it a certain way, because I want to teach so that you guys can learn from it. If I just hop in and start painting right away, I'm not answering the questions that I would be asking if I was a viewer, my younger self. If I was somebody that I looked up to when I got into customizing is Mosh. So if Mosh was on YouTube, he is now, but back then, when I had first started, you know, if he was just painting right away, I would be wondering, well, what are all those little products on his table? Why is he doing it this way? I thought you were supposed to do this. I like to talk through my process in our video. So let me see. Also, any other things, advice for starting a YouTube channel about customizing shoes? People really enjoy the process, you know what I mean? Time-lapse will always work for customizing shoes. It's always cool for something to go from a blank white canvas to a completed, fleshed out product like that. And of course, consistency. You know what I mean? It's all about consistency. If you can try to get to, you know, one video a week, one video every other week or something like that, really try to find a regimen that you can stick to so your audience can know when to expect something from you. Hey, you know, Alex Smith here is going to upload once every Friday or something like that. They'll know, hey, Friday afternoon I get to go hang out with Alex or something like that. So those would be my recommendations for starting a YouTube page. Let's see here. Super chat coming in from Walkin Creations. Great work in teaching. Thank you so much, Walkin. Truly appreciate that. Anybody supporting the page in that manner, we really, really appreciate that. So thank you so much. Jason Jason says this channel is the whole novel, fam, not the Cliff Notes. Jason, that is that's the truth, man. That's what we want to do, and we don't want to change that. We want to be we'll let other people do that. You know what I mean? We want this page to be all about teaching and like I said, hopefully inspiring and hopefully really explaining things thoroughly that you walk away from it knowing the stuff I would have wanted to know when I was younger. That's the best way I can put it. I try to answer the questions that I would have asked when I first just started out, because what's really a challenge, guys, is now having 8 years of experience. When I just hop into something, it's second nature because I've literally done it thousands of times. But there's so many people who are in the chat room right now who might watch this video in the future who are doing something for the first time or the second time or the third time, and it's not second nature to them, and they don't necessarily know why you should do something first rather than why it would be a better idea to do a different portion of the shoe first or something like that. So I need to sort of unwind myself and not just speak in terms of it's second nature for me to do this first, and think back, try to erase some of my knowledge and my habits and think why, and try to explain why it's a better idea to do this first. So I'm very glad that that message comes across to you guys. That means a lot to us. So that's good stuff because it's working. So thank you guys. Eric Quara says most of the YouTubers you mentioned have crappy setups, mostly out of their bedroom or something. DeJesus Custom Footwear has the premier YouTube channel. Thank you for that, Eric. That means a lot. Yes, something that I also recommend is, hey, believe me, I didn't have a studio space when I started. I started painting at my mother's kitchen table. I would lay down. I wouldn't even always lay down newspaper, very much to my mother's dismay. But I tried to, and then I would, clean it up, change the... Oh, we got a battery issue. One sec here, folks. That's what happens when Jason is not here today. It is just me today, folks. Let's see. That should be good. Visual is back. Audio still on. This is what happens on DCF Live. Ladies and gentlemen, you never know what might happen. We might start breaking out dancing, but that's what happens when you are live. So back to what I was saying. A setup. So sometimes a lot of people will say, hey, can you check out my YouTube page? What do you recommend I do? And a lot of times just one thing is, commonly we'll refer to... My dad just texted me, says, screen says change battery pack. Shout out to Pops, always here in the live streams and letting me know. So glad you caught that, Dad. Keeping your presentation clean. So even if you're working out of your bedroom, which is 100% okay, don't work with your bed in the background. You know what I mean? Just work up against a blank wall. Find a way for you to carve out a section of your room and just have the camera set up with you up against a clean, simple wall. There's nothing wrong with that. Or use something that works good as a backdrop for your setting. You know what I mean? You don't need a ton of space. You know what I mean? But just keeping a non-distracting presentation, super important. So let's see. The chat is flying today, guys, so hard for me to keep up. Let's see here. Flywalker Kick says, is J Money gonna do some kicks? Y'all should switch places. That would be funny to do a video of me doing the filming and trying to do some crazy B-roll stuff that Jason's able to do and him doing the painting. Fun fact, started working with Jason February 2017, so 3 years. Never once has he had to lay paint onto a shoe. He's applied matte finisher a few times, but never once, even like at our busiest, have I been like, yo, Jason, I need you to hop in and paint this way for me real quick or something like that. And I always ask him, I'm like, man, if I had to go do something for a while, do you think at this point, after hearing me, thousands of hours, even if sometimes our videos are converted down to, 10 minutes, sometimes there's hours of footage and hours of talking that gets trimmed down. So I always ask him, like, man, do you think you would be able to, from hearing me preach so many hours, do you think you would be able to take over and do something? And he pretty confidently says, I think I could. So we're going to have to one day get him to paint something. That would be super funny. Super chat from Signature. Appreciate the knowledge. Is there a way to cover the threaded names and logos, or do you just paint over them? Thank you for the super chat, Signature. Greatly appreciate that. Is there a way to cover the threaded names and logos, or do you just paint over them? So is there a way to cover them? It would be hard to cover them. So very typically, I'll just work that into my design. So specifically, if we're talking about, let's say, a Jumpman stitching on a Jordan or something like that, I'm going to paint the entire upper, and then I'm going to come back and tie that into my design or something like that. The tongue tags on this pair is painted. Another example you might be talking about, let me grab a shoe. Let's say you're talking about, there is the Jumpman stitching, hard to see. I think that's focused on a Jordan 6. So what I did is I did the Space Jam logo, and then I came back. I didn't want it to be distracting or overpowering, but I did the Jumpman in a dark gray. I'm actually, I would say 90% of the time, I'm really, when I'm designing something, I think it's really important to tie in the branding that's already on a shoe. So I could have just easily done the Space Jam logo and covered up the Jumpman and left it. But I'm usually pretty keen on bringing back the branding that's on a shoe. The only time where I'm not that keen on it actually is the Wings logo on a Jordan 1. For some reason, I'm not that keen on always needing to bring that back. So on these, you know, I just have them covered up with the cow spots. And I don't know what it is about the Wings logo on a Jordan 1, but I don't always feel the need to tie that back in. But always on like a Jordan 6, you know, I'll always try to bring it back, that branding. I'm working on a pair of Jordan 3s right now, so even if I were to do a logo on the tongue, I would still want to paint that stitching of that Jumpman. So yeah, I typically like to, that's also something that I recommend doing last, though, after the fact. So do all your designing, and that's one of the last little things, because then you have the design laid out. Let's say you're 95% done with the design in the shoe, then you can make a conscious decision on what color will work best for something like that also. You know, just looking back at this, like, I could have made the conscious decision to maybe make that white or something, and it would have popped a little more, but I actually want that Space Jam logo to pop. Whereas if I would have done that white, it would have been a little more distracting. Or if I would have done it any of the other colors, you know, maybe this blue that's on the pull tab, or if I would have done it, you know, the orange or anything like that, it would have taken away from the logo. So I think the dark gray here, it still doesn't take away from the logo, but then it brings back that Jumpman branding. So thank you for the super chat, buddy. Greatly appreciate that. Let's see. David Mosh says, will you ever have an intermediate level class? I do think that is something we have talked extensively about in the future. Having certainly a second, potentially even a third level course, whereas the course that we're offering right now is very much, it's not just a beginner course, because a lot of the people, actually, interestingly enough, the 20 people, what I'm so excited about is that of the 20 people, there's going to be a huge, wide range of experience in that course. There's going to be some people there who haven't, if any, have done very minimal custom shoe work in the past, and there's going to be some people who are coming to our course who are well on their way to having a very, very successful custom sneaker business. There are some people that already have a big following and things like that are coming. So I do think that I would like to have a intermediate level course where we're skipping past the basics and we're talking about, because even though our course is going to be 2 days, 16 hours total, you guys know I can talk. Some of you guys hung out with us in the live stream. That was 10 hours. I didn't run out of things to talk about while I was painting. You know what I mean? And it's hard for me to multitask. So I can talk, especially about custom shoes, which is something that I'm just, obviously, as you guys know, incredibly passionate about. So I think that is definitely something that is possible in the future. Let's see here. A lot of people saying they would love to see Jason customize also. So that would be funny. Let's see. Let's see. You know, a video that we really need to do. Because I get the question way more, certainly more now than ever before, is blending without an airbrush. So a video, I have to find the right shoe to do a gradient, and the thing is I want it to be a little not that easy either. You know what I mean? Because I would rather teach how to do a hard gradient than just an easy gradient. So, you know, let's just say you were doing a gradient of there's small gradients on the hills of these Ben & Jerry's. So if we look, hopefully I can get that in focus. I think it looks at me. So if I move, maybe I can get that to focus. So if you look at that small hill, there's a little bit of a gradient there. That was done by hand, okay? Sorry guys if that's not incredibly in focus. I'm trying, but there's a little bit of a gradient there on that small hill. Oh, camera's capturing me again. I gotta get out of the way. I'm gonna keep scooting. Okay. Sometimes I always think to myself, how funny is it if somebody's just entering the chat right now and they're like, what is this dude doing? Okay. You guys kind of get the point. There's a small gradient there, and that was done by hand. So a dark green to light green. Now that's pretty easy to do. Even in a small area, that's not that hard to do. But if I was trying to do a Lakers colorway and I was trying to blend yellow to purple, or I was doing a Bears colorway and I'm trying to blend orange to blue, that's a whole lot harder. And that's the type of thing that I would want to show. Here's how you do a more complex gradient, because it's not going to necessarily be the same as doing a very simple dark green to light green gradient. So I just need to find the right base shoe to do that on. Maybe one of those Stan Smiths. That's a good base shoe since it's all flat too. That would probably be a good shoe to do a gradient on. I'll have to see if I can get one of those maybe, because they didn't have every size available when I looked yesterday. I'm going to look into those because I do want to do a gradient video for just by hand, because that is a question that we get a lot. So that would be a good one. I'm gonna have to look at those shoes and then find the right theme and whatnot and the right type of gradient, because that is a question that we get a lot. How to do a gradient without an airbrush. Let's see. John Kelly says, I'm going to do my first design soon, and I was wondering if the cartoon outlines are hard for your first one. That's a pretty cool design to start out with, John, and what's really cool about that is that it sort of somewhat doesn't have to be perfect either. You can certainly, because it's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be a little scribble outside the lines type design. So that's a pretty cool one to start with, actually. So I do like that. I do like that because you don't have to necessarily be incredibly perfect. So that's actually a good design, John. Good luck. I'd love to check them out when you are done with them, buddy. Let's see. John McDonald says, when using a basic stencil for an Air Force One, do you still use a Scotch pad to scuff it up, even though you're using that surface as the background for a pattern? Yep, I'm always going to be in the camp of over prepping. I think what you might be saying is, let's say you were keeping the entire Air Force One white and you were just doing a small little stencil somewhere. I still like to prep that area because if you're going to be using a stencil, if you're going to be using vinyl, you don't want any paint to peel. It depends on the design. It depends on if you're painting behind there. A lot of factors, of course. So it's totally dependent on the design and a lot of different things. But if you're using vinyl, especially like multiple layers of vinyl or something like that, you really want to make sure that the paint's bonded so it doesn't peel up when you peel back any of that vinyl. So it certainly depends on different stuff. Let's see. My buddy Brennan Bison in the chat. What's up, buddy? Hope you're doing good. You guys definitely make sure you go and check out my buddy Brennan on Instagram at @bbison, Bison with a Z. Incredibly talented stuff. He does it's just some of my favorite stuff from him is some of his Yeezy V2 work, where he was just a master at doing super tiny, intricate work on the stripe of a Yeezy V2. Insane character work, cartoon stuff he was doing. He did a really cool horror-themed pair. Ton of cool stuff. Incredibly talented guy. And long-time friend and supporter. So glad to see you here, buddy. Let me see here. Actually, see, Brendan say I did hand painting gradient for years, and man, that was a mistake. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I haven't done a video on it, because if I have the choice, which I do on a daily basis, I would never do a gradient by hand because it's 10 times easier with an airbrush. It is like literally 10 times easier with an airbrush. So, but not everybody has an airbrush at their disposal. Not everybody feels comfortable airbrushing in their house, or whatever the case may be. Just starting out, have no idea how to airbrush. It's a video that we have gotten a lot of requests from. So definitely something we still want to do in the future. Let's see. Neo King says, can I start with the splatter on my yellow football boots? First time doubts. Absolutely. We have a good video on how to do a splatter, and it's actually on a pair of football boots. And we show, I think, 4 different methods on how you can do splatter with a toothbrush, an old paintbrush, a few different ways you can achieve a few different types of looks to your splatter. You can go for, you know, a tinier, super tiny splatter, or sometimes you're going for more of that long, stringy splatter, and we walk through some of that during that video. So definitely check that one out. I think it's called How to Splatter Your Boots, actually. David says, where do you get your laces? We get them from Lace Lab, actually. Lace Lab is where we get a lot of our laces. Let's see here. HWN POI 808 says, do you know what items can I use to make a homemade airbrush spray station for cheap, since some people are on a budget? So ultimately, you can get the airbrush spray stations for around about $100, depending on if you want to get the ones with lights or things like that. I have looked into a few DIY versions of that because I was considering making a larger one and having a few different things, kind of just a custom-made one. And with all of the materials, because the thing that ends up costing the most is the fan, because you have to have a fan in there to actually suck out the spray, it ends up being just more cost efficient to buy a pre-made box, especially considering how long it would actually take to make. So there's not a super quick, here, let me just go grab this and this. It's actually something that you have to make a booth. So it just ends up being more cost efficient to buy one that's already made. Because I have looked into that in the past, but you know, you never know what you might find on Google. So just continue to search up a DIY airbrush booth and things like that. Super chat from our buddy Marldane. Thank you, buddy. I just got a new camera and lights. Still not quite perfect. Any tips on camera settings or light placement? High ISO and aperture. Check my Instagram to see the old terrible lighting before I improve. So I'm not the world's most knowledgeable on camera lingo and terminology and things like that. However, what I will say is, since you're talking about working maybe indoors, when possible, you want to have the lowest ISO setting possible, because although cameras are getting better and it depends on the camera if it's mirrorless or not, there might be some better camera people in here, like Jason can answer these questions even better, but you want to have your ISO as low as possible, because every increment that you raise your ISO is typically in like 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, things like that. Actually, there's it's not just in the hundreds, because there's a 250 and all these other things. Anyways, the more you raise your ISO, the more noise you add to your photo. So typically, you're lowering the quality a little bit as you raise that ISO. So you would rather bring in more lights so that you can keep your ISO nice and low. So if you're shooting outside on a nice cloudy day, you can have that ISO at 100 and it's going to be perfect lighting. But if you try going out at night and your ISO's at 100, it's going to be completely black. So try to keep that ISO as low as possible. A couple other little things that I'll say is your aperture, which is going to be your f-stop, depending on your camera and your lens. Camera terminology is also a little bit backwards. So although the number is lower, such as maybe if you're at an f2.8, although that number is low, that's considered a higher aperture than if you were at an f12. Even though that's a bigger number, that's considered a lower aperture. It's weird. It's reverse. But the smaller number for your aperture is going to give you more of that bokeh or that depth of field, and it's going to focus on just the shoe and everything else will be blurred. So if I can give you a couple suggestions, put that as low as possible. So maybe your camera goes down to f2.8 or f3.5 or something like that. Put that ISO as low as possible, down to ideally 100. And then you want your shutter speed. If you're holding it by hand, your shutter speed's likely going to need to be somewhere around 125 or so, because there's that little potential of you shaking a bit. So, but if you're on a tripod, that shutter speed can go even lower to, 1/50 or something like that. So check out, there's a YouTube page, one of my favorite YouTubers, Peter McKinnon. He has a ton of great videos on things like that. So really looking forward to it, because investing in cameras is something I will always recommend for a better presentation for your product. I wish you the best, buddy. You are easily one of our best supporters, so I am more than glad to help you along the way, answer any question possible, and try to help you out. Let's see here. Another super chat from Johnny's Life. Thank you, buddy. Really appreciate that. Little sticker there. Thank you so much, buddy. Really appreciate you supporting the page in that way. That means a lot to us. Let's see here. So yeah, that was fun. I like talking about camera stuff also. That's why Ryan Forex with the funny comment here. It says Dylan reviewing Instas. Again, the pictures could improve. Exactly. That's something that I'll always talk about is photography and things like that, because, something I always say, hey, premium product, premium pricing, premium photography. They all go together. H&L Kicks says, hey Dylan, would you ever review a YouTube video live and give tips like you sometimes do for an Instagram? That's a cool idea. We all kind of watch a YouTube video here, and I would have to find a way to get the sound. I would have to figure out a way for the sound, and then we would be able to watch a YouTube video live, and that would bring some recognition to you guys, and then, not only mine, but other people's feedback. That would be cool. Let's see here. Let's see. Daniel says, are you going to have a 4th of July reviewing your custom shoe show? So the the next 3 contest ideas that I have 4 ideas. I'll say them here. We might do another Halloween and Christmas one again this year. We'll see. But the 4 ideas that I'm really excited about are a floral contest, a video game contest. Now, a million different ways you can interpret that, because there's a million different video games. A Disney contest, because Disney owns everything at this point. Disney owns, all the superheroes. They own Star Wars, you know what I mean? So there's a million different things you could do with the Disney one, and then an anime one. Those are 4 really cool ideas that I know we would get a ton of good stuff from. So I am very excited about each of those, and I think we should be announcing the next one likely next week. We should be. Daniel says the 3 Ps, people, product, presentation. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You want to charge premium pricing for your premium product, you got to present it in a premium way. So that's why not that often, but we actually, even in this video where we finished the sock liner and other things like that, we even wanted to bring you guys behind the scenes and talk about the photography. And on a pair like this where I spent 20 hours on them, I want them to be presented in a really cool way with our Instagram set. So I thought that was very important to show a little bit of the behind the scenes for the photography. And because Jason was working on the video to get that done, I actually had to do the photoshopping of this. Let me see if I have it on my phone for anybody who might not have caught it. Let me see if I still have it there. Let me try to find it because this is cool to see. It took me about 3 hours to do it. It took me 3 hours to get the photo just how we wanted it. Let's see. I thought I had it on here. Let me see. Where is it at? Yes, here it is. Okay. All right. So this is 3 hours of work into like 30 seconds. Wait for the camera to pop up. There we go. All right, check this out. Now, obviously, it's moving incredibly fast, but you can at least see the before photo on top and then the after photo. Because there is a ton of work that goes into something like that. And something that I said in the video is anytime you're doing something like this, it's kind of like in a movie. Think of like in a movie how it's really important for things to be practical, in my opinion. So whereas now you look at a movie like the superhero movies now that you get, Infinity War, Endgame, things like that, you know, big blockbusters that somebody like The Rock is in, and so much of it is just CGI. And The Rock, he's not talking to, you know, he's up against these monsters in the Rampage movie, and it's not practical because he's in a green screen room talking to a little tennis ball, and yet when you see it, it's a giant ape and things like that. So it's about being practical so that it still feels real. So in the before photo, we actually went out and bought a bunch of shaved ice that day. We bought the pints of the Ben & Jerry's. We had a smaller piece of yellow paper in the background that we then photoshopped to be the entire thing. Rather than just taking a picture of the shoes up against on the floor and then just trying to Photoshop all of that stuff in the background, it's still really important to try to keep as much practical and as real when you are just starting out. So that is super important when you're going for your product photography. Let's see here. Ryan says, when mailing a custom, should you use a P.O. box or your address? It depends. Totally up to you on you know, your privacy and things like that. And you know, if you're in a area where you trust your mailing system, some people are scared of you know, their mailing system. That sometimes, you know, they're worried about packages getting stolen and things like that. So, you know, with the P.O. box, you're not giving out your address and you're safe. So that's certainly an option. But, you know, if you have, if you're in you've got a good mailing system, good neighborhood, then you don't have as much to worry about. Let's see here. Daniel with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. Greatly appreciate that. You've been asking some great questions today too. So let's see here. Dylan says, I'm painting a pair of Nike slides and I need a theme. I have a vinyl cutter, and Brittany, come make an appearance on the stream. Brittany just got home from work. Come on in. The people want to see you. Brittany just got in from work. The people want to see her. The feedback on having Brittany in the live stream was awesome. And so come on, get in.
Where is it? I don't even know.
Oh, the camera's right there.
Hi, guys.
Camera's right there. So Brittany is a full-time nurse. I asked her to take off work that day, and she took off work that day, hung out with us during the stream. And it's not easy to do. She filled in for me while I was eating, answered some questions. Not easy to do. So thank you again for that. And the feedback, the way you guys treated her was awesome. So it was great to see. Glad you're home from work.
Thanks,
love you too. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Let's see. So the question I was answering, Dylan Solon says, I'm painting a pair of Nike slides and I need a theme. I have a vinyl cutter and an airbrush at my disposal. What theme should I do? We will open that up to the chat. Everybody give Dylan some suggestions on his Nike slides. So something that I think about when working on a pair of slides is typically you're working with a, we're talking about warmer climate. We're talking about summer months potentially. So what are cool themes for the summer? I think a cool pair of floral slides. I think a nice sunset gradient, since you said you had an airbrush. That's something that could work really cool for a pair of Nike slides. Summer themes, that's what I typically recommend. But you'll probably get some other cool suggestions here in the chat. There's a good question here. Let me see. Let me find it. Moritz Witrin says, what do you think about replica sneakers? So I fully understand and acknowledge it can be hard to get base shoes. Okay. It can be expensive. The price can quickly add up, and sometimes, there's the temptation to get a pair of replica sneakers. Now, if it's just for practice sake, you know what I mean? Hey, I'm not even going to be wearing these. They're not really I'm not trying to sell them to a customer. Can I just use replicas? The issue that comes with that, in my opinion, is if you're just starting out, the issue that I have with it is they paint and prep differently than an authentic pair because they're a lesser quality. So if you have a replica pair of Air Forces, they're going to be made from an even cheaper leather than a regular pair of Air Forces, which aren't even made from great leather to start. So they're going to prep very differently. And if you follow, the right prepping methods, if you sand them, you scuff them, they are going to get torn apart quickly. You might even ruin them from prepping them correctly. So there's that issue. And then they're also going to even paint differently because the leather's different. It's going to, kind of take the paint's just going to absorb differently. So the issue with that is maybe you might just say, well, I'm not going to wear them. They're not to be worn. They're not for a customer. So I just need to practice painting. Well, the issue is now when you go to potentially making shoes for clients and you start working on real pairs, now all of a sudden you're practicing on something totally different. So have you ever heard the saying, practice how you play? You know what I mean? You hear about that. You watch the MJ documentary, you see a guy like Mike practiced just as hard as he played. That's similar but different here. You want to be practicing on the same thing you're going to be playing on. You know what I mean? So that's just sort of the one issue that I think you can run into with replicas is that they're just such a lesser quality. So CW Custom says, are you still banned from Nike for ordering the Roches? I am. It has been 4 years. 4 years, Nike. What a shame. What a shame. But yeah, whenever we need to buy a pair, we still can on Foot Locker and all those other types of things. So the story, I'm sure not everybody's heard it before, but I was banned from buying on Nike for... I think one time, I think the number was 23. I think I bought 23 pairs of Roches. Somebody gave me a hookup. This wasn't anything. I was using bots, weird discount codes. I was buying a standard shoe, a Nike Roche, at a non-discounted price because I was selling a lot of Nike Roches. So I bought 23 pairs at full retail. And a Nike Roche isn't like a hyped, limited, exclusive shoe. It's not like I somehow bought 23 pairs of a limited pair of Jordans. I bought one of their very simple standard shoes, 23 pairs at retail price, and they blacklisted me from the site. So anything that has my mailing address, my name, anything like that I've used. My brother's, I've tried using my brother's cards. I've tried using other people's names, but then when you have to use your card and it has your billing address, things like that, like they have me blacklisted from buying on the site. I've tried a lot of different ways. So yeah, they banned me. The only thing I can think of is that they assumed I was a reseller, that I was going to resell all of those, because from what I've heard, I don't necessarily have confirmation on this, but Nike isn't. They wouldn't ban a customizer from buying on there. They're not mad at us customizing on Nike shoes. We're still working on their shoes and bringing them publicity and things like that. So it wasn't that, for example. I just think that they thought I was a reseller, and that's what happened. So funny story, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Thankfully, there's still a lot of places where you can get other stuff. Let's see. Joe A says, how do you fix frayed stitching and avoid fraying it during prep? So you can fix it with two things. You can run a lighter over it, or you can take a nose hair trimmer to it. Either of those will likely help it. Let's see. CNG Custom says, how many followers do you need for an Angela sponsorship? So there's not a number that they say you need to have 10K followers to get a sponsorship. I think at this point, just because there's so many talented artists out there, they already have a large roster of sponsored artists. You would just have to be doing something different. You know what I mean? You would have to find a way to stand out for them to want to sponsor you. So that's what I would... that's how I would look at it and go about it if I was trying to obtain a sponsorship. Let's see. Scotty's Custom Kick says, I seen this question pop up early, but I couldn't see if it was answered. Who provides the trainer for a custom project? Is it the client or an artist? Totally depends, and it can go either way. When somebody reaches out to us, and they might say, hey, how much for that shoe that you've already posted? And then you could say, well, it's X number if you send me your shoes. Or it's Y number if I send you the finished design and include the cost of the shoe. Or sometimes a client will reach out and say, hey, I have a pair of grape Jordan 5s that I want to send you, and I want you to do this theme on there. And then you're just charging for the artwork. So it can absolutely go either way. Totally depends on how you want to run your business. There's plenty of customizers who just work on simple shoes that they can supply, and their website will always just include the base shoe. So they might only work on Air Forces, Jordan 1s, simple shoes that you can always go and buy in a specific size. Whereas let's say you're working on something like a Jordan 3 and you need a specific base model from a few years back. Well, it's going to be a little bit harder to guarantee all the shoes at a set price. So it totally depends on how you are sort of running your business. John Kelly says, can you just prep a shoe with acetone? I don't believe you can. That is how you will see 95% of people do it, but you also will not see, from 95% of people, you will never see a durability test or anything. You know what I mean? So I think that's something where I really need to really show that with a pair like this, because it's a perfect pair like this because you saw the entire process on camera. You know what I mean? So there was no tricks. If you want to learn, you could watch that 10-hour stream where I talk about everything, and then you would know how to do it yourself. You know what I mean? So the only area where you would ever run into with something like this is Jordan 1's crease on the toe box. You know what I mean? Right there. I have no issue doing that, and still no paint cracking. Of course, that's not a true durability test. I need to wear these for a couple months, but you can see where the crease is already, and it's not like there is any paint cracking. So I will I actually kind of want to show that. I don't know if I'll be able to. Let me turn the mic around. Okay, change the direction of the mic. Yep, you guys should be able to hear me pretty clear. So the inside of a Jordan 1 toe box creases worse than the outside. Now again, this is not a durability test, guys. This is not me saying this proves these are durable. But you can already see the crease lines forming. And now there is no paint cracking, okay? Even if we go the other way, I'm trying to crease, you know what I mean, the other way, there's still no paint cracking. Now, again, I'm reiterating, this is not a durability test, okay? But this is something, because if you didn't prep at all, there would already be paint cracking just from something like this. And I believe if you only prepped with acetone, there would already be paint cracking in this area. Trying to make sure that that is at least semi in focus. It's not right now. There it is. No paint cracking. So I think it'd be cool to do an update on those. Flip the mic after they have been heavily worn in the future. Yeah. Oh man, it hurts. It hurts. R.I.P. That is funny to see. Don't crease. It's making me cry. Stop, Dylan. Having PTSD. Oh man, that is funny. That's good stuff. That is good stuff. But yeah, guys. I mean, like, I just I want to be somebody who is willing to, in a way, put. I want my word to carry weight and to mean something, and for me to put my money where my mouth is, essentially. And if I'm saying this can be done with proper prep work, and if you prep this way, it's going to be a better thing than just acetoning, and how come everybody only does the cotton ball and acetone? How come nobody else does the scuffing and the sanding and all that other stuff? And I see all these other people who are bigger and better and whatnot. How come they don't do that? Well, I just want to be a place where you learn how to do it correctly. And because I've made plenty of mistakes. Plenty. And that's why the best thing you can do is learn from those mistakes. And there's a quote, something about a smart man learns from his mistakes, and then I think a wise man or something learns from the mistakes of others. I think something like that. I can't think of how that goes right now, but hopefully I can make all of you guys, our viewers, wise in that you can learn from my mistakes. And I didn't always prep this hard and things like that. And now, hopefully, you can learn from my mistakes, and that's what this page can be. Everything that I've learned over the years. So let's see. CW says, thoughts on painting the air on an Air Force One? Yeah, so since it's rubber, it's on the midsole, I don't think it has true long-term durability. It's not in an area where there's any flex at all either, so it might work a little bit. But if they're a pair that's going to be worn regularly and not treated as a precious piece, a collection piece, if they're a pair that's going to be worn daily, I think that that's something that would wear off over time. I do. Gail Saunders has a good question. Let's see. CW says, let's be honest, nobody prepped their first pair. Fun story about my first shoe. I think I might have said this in the stream, but it was funny. And the first pair I painted was a Jordan 6 Varsity Red. I was painting it in a South Beach colorway. I wasn't able to get the midsole hot pink. I tried every acrylic paint from Michael's. I was using the cheap acrylic paints at first. And I asked my mom, who's a DIY person, Mom, what paint can I use to get this hot pink? And she told me to try latex paint. So I literally went to Home Depot, bought hot pink paint that you would paint a wall with, and I painted that on the midsole of a Jordan 6. Oh boy. That's the best way to learn, making mistakes. Curtis Wynn says, can I paint my red sock liner into the multicolor tie-dye? Curtis, it would be a lot harder. Specifically, you're talking about a color like yellow. That's not going to appear on a red sock liner. And it's going to even be hard for you to get that red sock liner into, you wouldn't even be able to convert it to white to where then all of the colors would pop. So that is one where I would say it is likely not possible to do in a, safe, proper manner. Flywalker Kicks with a great question says, what if a customer says they have cracks in a custom you did for them? How would you respond? So here's a large issue with that, Flywalker. the big issue with that is, one, I do think it's on you to fix it, okay? But how you go about fixing it is what's super important, because let's say they had cracking somewhere and you just say, okay, I'm just gonna put paint right over it. You know, I'm just gonna repaint it. Your pale blue. There was some white mixed into this pale blue, but let's just pretend this was painted completely pale blue. This toe box cracked. I just grabbed some of that pale blue paint and paint right over it. Guess what's gonna happen as soon as I wear them again? It's gonna crack again. Think of the foundation of a house. When you have an issue, you have to get to the issue. You have to really solve the issue. You know what I mean? So they need to really, you can't just put a Band-Aid on it. You know what I mean? And you just applying a little bit more pale blue paint on top of it, it's just going to crack again. So you have to find a way to fix the issue. So in that case, if that were to happen, what you would actually need to do is remove everything and start over in those cracked areas at least. So that is what I would say about that one. Let's see here. Alex Smith says, so sir, is acetone and Angelus deglazer is different? They are different. They're very similar, very, very similar. Acetone is just a little bit stronger. So if we talk about, three products that people typically refer to: nail polish remover, Angelus deglazer, and then acetone. Nail polish remover is right here in terms of strength. Deglazer is right here. It's way stronger than nail polish remover, but it's a little bit less than acetone. Acetone's the strongest. Let's see. Here's a unique one. Josh Villa says, how would you approach charging more for customs when your loyal customers are used to your original prices and you stop getting as many orders as usual? How would you approach charging more for customs when your loyal customers are used to your original prices and you stop getting as many orders as usual? So if you have a customer who's bought multiple pairs from you, maybe at a set price, I'd stick to that. Maybe go up slightly, you know what I mean? And let them know that, hey, I'm charging a little bit more nowadays. And if they're a real genuine fan of you, they'll be okay with it. But if you doubled or tripled the prices, that's when they might say, oh, hey, I can't afford that anymore. You know what I mean? Because it may not be that client for you. But I have clients that I've had for literally 8 years, the entire time I have been working. And I charge vastly different than I did 8 years ago. But I still work with them. I have one guy specifically, that word's been tripping me up today, who probably has around 50 pairs from me. He bought a pair from me. The first pair he bought from me was within my first 6 months of customizing. Now I've been doing it for 8+ years. And I have roughly charged him, it's gone up a little bit over the years, but pretty similar to what I did when I started. Whereas now my pricing is 10 times what it was. But because he's somebody that I'm so loyal to, I'm still gonna, and he would still stick around if I charged him what I might charge a new person reaching out. But because we just have such a great relationship, I don't even mind, because it's not even about, because you know why? The reason is because it's not even about the money anymore with him. He's just such a loyal supporter. He's brought me so much business that it's not even about the money anymore. So it's not even about what I charge him. Well, that's what it comes down to there. But back to your question, Josh, because that's very specific to me. How would you approach charging more for customs when your loyal customers are getting used to your original prices and you stop getting as many orders as usual? So maybe you raised your pricing because you've been at it for a while. So now you're getting a little bit less people, which is expected anytime you raise pricing, but that's okay. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, maybe for your loyal customers, people who already have one or two or multiple pairs from you, it's totally okay to, especially because you said you're getting a little bit less orders now. That means you have a little bit more time, even though you might be making more now because you're charging more. In the long run, it's still okay to work with people who have been supporting you. Definitely. Absolutely. Absolutely. H&L Kick says, hey Dylan, would you be down to review our newest YouTube video on a pair of custom Travis Scott Air Force Ones? H&L Kicks, I will do it. See if you can send me, you know what? DM me on Instagram a link to the video real quick, and I'm going to pull the video up on my phone. I don't think there will be sound. I will have to figure that one out. Maybe I'll hold the phone up like this because the video will still play, but maybe the sound. We'll see. DM me real quick on the on my Instagram, and we'll pull that up here for the first time. We'll do it live. We will do it live. How long have we been at it, guys? An hour 32. Cool stuff. Let's do it. Let's check this video out. What is the video on? A Travis Scott Air Force One. Yeah. H&L. Send me a DM. And we will check that out. Let's see. I'll answer, let me see. I'll try to answer ones while we're waiting for those. Some quick ones. Billy Unn says, what Angelus paint color should I use for a brown and gold Louis Vuitton stencil? So I actually did a pair of Converse for my cousin recently with that exact colorway. What I ended up using, I believe, was rich brown with a fair bit of light gray, because it's the brown, when you actually look at it, it's not that saturated. So anytime I need to pull out some saturation, a color's too saturated, I like to mix in a light gray. And then for the beige, let me pull that up so I can look at the color that I used. I just got the DM, awesome stuff. LV pattern brown. Cool. Okay, so show this to everybody also. Yes. So here, this is the colorway that I painted. See how that brown is not that saturated? I ended up mixing a lot of light gray in there. I wasn't going for this type of brown where it is a little bit more saturated. So rich brown with light gray for that brown. And then I know this was a lot of play in the sand with, I think, some yellow. And then some light gray in there also. So those are the colors that I would use for a brown and LV custom. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and pull up this YouTube video. We are all going to watch a Travis Scott Air Force video. Let's see here. Flip that over so you guys can see the thumbnail. Title, Custom Air Force Ones for Aiden Fair. Let's see. Click. Make sure it's going to play for you guys. So I don't even have sound, okay? So this one, we'll have to figure this out better in the future. But that's okay. So right away, I'm going to comment on the background. This is great. You know, this is probably likely in a bedroom or something like that. You have some of your branding behind you with your sneaker boxes. Cool stuff. Looks like we're going into a little bit of B-roll of making of the shoes. Time-lapse, cool stuff. I saw you pull out the X-Acto. I think that might have been for taking off the swoosh. I didn't necessarily see the finished design very much in the beginning because I was talking and things also. So I'm curious to see how this goes. So we're removing the swoosh. Cool stuff. Lighter. Yep. That's how you're going to clean up all that fraying. Get rid of all that. Angelus, Liquid Kicks has one. Angelus is working on making one, a leather filler, so that when you remove a swoosh, you will be able to fill in those holes in the future. So I'm sorry that we aren't able to hear the audio, because of course that's one of the most important parts of the video. So we're certainly missing out a little bit in that manner, but still cool we're getting to see this. So some time lapse of prepping, the most important step. It ain't sexy, okay? This ain't fun to watch. All right? An average viewer, this ain't fun to watch, all right? But it's the most important step, so I enjoy it. Yeah, I'm sad that we can't hear the talking right now. I don't think we can. I don't assume just because my phone's in, you guys are able to hear this and I'm crazy. But, so we're making looks like we're making the color, a couple drops of duller. The taping, I see some Scotch 2060 tape. Good stuff. Hand painting that brown. Cool, so it looks like we have a full time lapse. All right, yep, painting the brown. So as long as you don't mind, we're gonna just skip a little bit to keep seeing everything, keep it moving. Everybody in the chat, painting the black on the insides, because are you gonna, so you kept the original swooshes, and I think you're gonna glue those on? Is that right? Cool. Still watching the inside swooshes being painted. So the talking, I'm just gonna skip again since we can't hear anyway. I see a red stencil. Is that for, let's see that. Yep, the Cactus Jack branding. Cool. Sock liner time. Heat setting. That's stencil. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm curious if we're going to re-glue stitching onto the outside. Again, I didn't necessarily get to see the end design in the beginning. Cactus on the tongue tag. Good stuff. Yeah, so don't worry, guys. In the future, I'll find a way to where we'll just have the full video playing. It'll be taking up the entire screen, and then I'll be a tiny little portion in the corner, because I can see now you guys are viewing this very small. Okay, so it looks like we're back to those original swooshes for the outside, I believe. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So those are going to go back on. Cool. Looks like probably barge cement. The can is turned backwards right now, so I can't see if it is. But probably barge cement for something like that. Okay, so those are being taped down, or glued down. Excuse me, not taped down. Oh, yep, clamped too. Yep. Okay, so one thing I'm going to point out right there, I'm going to point it out. When we get to here, it's as soon as we see that we're in that final B-roll of showing the finished product. One thing I'll point out right away. Great learning tip for everybody. Something that I would do. Let's wait for it right here. Cool. Where it's paused right now. So you laid down your swooshes and you painted them completely black. Now what I would do is also make sure you go back and touch up that edge. So that piping, that little edge that's still white on the swoosh, I would go back and touch that up black. So that's just my feedback there. Brown looks solid though, yep. I would touch up that edge around the swoosh. But I like the little B-roll here at the end. The work is clean. The work is clean. Yep, good stuff. Good stuff. Like I said, there's a huge component to the video that I missed now with the audio because I didn't get to hear whether you were trying to provide, you know, your process and whatnot during all that. But cool video. They turned out awesome. And then we have the client reaction. I like the heat set, the shrink wrap stuff on the pair. That's always a nice touch. And he looks excited by him. You could tell. So cool stuff. Great pair. Cool video. Some things that I would recommend. Let's see. Let's switch back here. Okay, cool. Some things that I would at least consider. Believe me, we have entire videos that are just time lapse. Sometimes a time lapse can go so quick that people are just likely to skip through. So sometimes it's a good idea where in a video like that, you showed the entire project, which is awesome. Sometimes it's a good idea to at least consider mixing it up and have different portions where it's not time lapse. It's and you don't show the entire process. You just show, here's me removing the swoosh. I put my knife under there and I start to remove it. And then you skip ahead to the last little stitching that you pull up. But you do that in real time rather than at 1000 speed. Just switch up your speed is one thing that I would consider for a video. But cool stuff, great stuff. Definitely looking forward to seeing more videos from you in the future. Yep, cool stuff. We got another super chat here from Brandy W. Thank you, Brandy. Thanks for always answering questions. It's really appreciated. How do you remove tape residue from the sole, and will a cheap airbrush kit work to start? Brandy, thank you so much for that super chat. Two different things that you can do for tape residue. You can use a product like Goo Gone. That works great. Or you can use a product like acetone. Now, let's just say you got some tape residue, whether it be on the midsole or the sole of a Jordan 1 like this. One thing that you could do is just take a cotton ball and acetone or Goo Gone and rub it right off. It's going to come up easily. Or something where you can actually get a little more force is dip a Q-tip in either acetone or Goo Gone and rub any of that tape residue right off. As far as a cheap airbrush kit, what I recommend for any budget for an airbrush, the recommendation, even if money is not an issue, I still recommend the same thing to anybody. And it's going to be about $150 to $170 setup of a Badger Patriot 105 airbrush. You can get that for usually somewhere around $80 to $100, and then a $70 airbrush compressor from Harbor Freight. They are $69.99, and it's just like a 1/5. It's called. It's just a great compressor that I recommend in our airbrush video. But yeah, it's a $70 compressor that you could pick up from there. If you go with some of the cheaper stuff where, maybe you get the entire kit for $80 or something like that, it's usually not that the compressor is the issue. It's that the airbrush is so cheap that it's really hard to work with, and you're likely just going to get frustrated and have so many issues with it that you just end up putting it off to the side. So with a Badger Patriot 105, that's an airbrush that is a workhorse. So definitely recommend that. But thank you again, Brandy. H&L Kicks with the super chat. Thanks for the review, D. We always appreciate you. Thank you, fellas. H&L Kicks is a team of two dudes that you got to see in there. It's always cool to me to see a couple guys working together or a team of customizers. I'm definitely seeing more of that, so it's always cool to see when you have a couple creatives working together. So cool stuff. Let's see here. Uwais, hopefully I said that right. Uwais Khan says, I wanted to do a basic Air Force One custom by painting just the toe box around the swoosh and the swoosh itself. What colors would you recommend that looks really good on the shoe? Uwais, that's totally dependent on what you're into, and do you like, it's really hard to say what colors look good on a blank canvas, because you can make anything look good. You know what I mean? One thing that I might recommend to you when you're just looking, you have no idea where you want to go, just Google color swatches and look at colors next to each other. And then you'll just find tons of stuff on Google of just different color palettes of colors working well together. You know what I mean? Like, you'll see stuff on earth tones, and just Google color palettes and color swatches, and you will definitely get inspired very quickly and get some great ideas. So that is what I recommend for sure. Definitely. Let's see. David Mosh says, what's the most expensive pair you've worked on? A customer wants me to do his Travis 4s, and I'm worried. I've worked on a couple pairs of the Platinum Yeezy 2s. So that would be the most expensive pair that I worked on. Joaquin says, is it recommendable to use a hair gun for wipe the paint? You can use a blow dryer instead of a heat gun. Yeah, you can use a blow dryer. That'd be okay. Let's see here. German Garcia says, what's the name of the airbrush gun you recommend? It is a Badger Patriot 105. Let's see. Clean your shoes. Jarina Thiessen says, what's the best way to clean your shoes without the paint coming off? As long as they're prepped correctly, you have nothing to worry about. I don't believe I have it on my phone. Let me see if I could pull it up on my Instagram here. I don't know if I would be able to. It was something I posted on my Instagram story, so it would be somewhere deep in the archive of me doing a cleaning on a pair of custom shoes. Let's see if I can maybe spend 30 seconds here and find it. If so, I'll show it, but I don't want to spend too much time tracking it down. Let's see. Let's see. I did a video of scrubbing a pair of custom shoes and just showing that they were still okay. Not seeing it. Not seeing it, but yes, as you know, just don't use anything that has hard bristles, but you can use a nice sneaker cleaning brush and still be good to go. Where was that? I'll have to find that and keep that saved on my phone. I don't have it in my camera roll anymore, but it was something on my Instagram story. Yeah. Spend about 10 more seconds looking. If I don't see it, I don't want to spend too much time trying to track that down. Yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, you can, you know, whether you just use a common company, whether it be, you know, Angelus has a sneaker cleaning brush, Jason Mark Rejuvenator, all of those. Just don't use anything with a hard bristle. If you just want to use a soap and water, you would be good to go. Walking Creations with the shout out, with a super chat. Excuse me. Thanks for the shout out, Dylan, and checking out my. I think I have said this wrong in the past. Let me know for all my anime fans. But is it not right to say Naruto? Is it Naruto? Let me know if I've always said Naruto. I think that's just maybe how I read it. But let me know if it's actually pronounced Naruto, because I have been saying it completely wrong. Can I get an Insta review? Yeah, we will gladly check you out. We have about 10 more minutes here, guys. Let me know, Walking Creations, if your Instagram name is just Walking Creations. But that is where I will start. But thank you for the super chat also, buddy. And let me know, Naruto or Naruto? Naruto is the first one, or Naruto is the second one? Because I've definitely heard Naruto from some people. So maybe they were saying it wrong. Let's see. But yeah, let me know if Walking Creations is just your Instagram name also. And we will review that. We got about 9 minutes, guys. We'll go to 6:30 Central Standard Time, so about 9 more minutes. Let me know. I'm trying to see if Walking Creation says. Okay, you guys say the first one as far as pronunciation. Good. So Naruto. Cool. Naruto. Okay, you guys. All right, cool. I wasn't crazy. I was saying it right all along. Yes, it is. Okay, cool. Walking Creations. Okay, and then Carlos Flores sends in a super chat. Thank you. Hello, D. Can you give us a review at JJ Customs? My son wants to hear if he can do something better. Absolutely, guys, because we are short on time. We've already been going almost 2 hours. I will only be able to do those 2 Instagrams. That will have to be it for today. So I just want to say that in advance. So let's see. Walk-in, I think Creations is with a Z. Let's make sure we get the right one, because you guys have probably been here where I've pulled up the wrong ones. Okay, so your Instagram might be with an S. Let me make sure. I'm just going to wait for confirmation, but let me know if this is you, Alexandra Hendry. Let's make sure. Yeah, Naruto, not Naruto. Okay, cool. Yes, let's make sure. We're just going to wait for Walking Creations to confirm this is their page. CW Custom says, how many customs do you do to the ratio of how many you post? Great question. I would probably say I usually only post on Instagram once or twice a week, as far as projects, and but I'm doing roughly probably 4 or 5 pairs a week, so it might be somewhere between 3 or 4 to 1. Because I also like to go. It's with a Z. Yeah, there wasn't one with a Z though. When I type in Walk-In Creations with the Z, there isn't one. Walk-In Creations, if you don't mind, just type out your @ here in the chat so we can make sure we review the right page. But back to, no, it's Walk-In _ Okay, cool. See, that would have been bad if we reviewed the wrong one. So it's Walk-In _ Creations. What? I must be spelling something wrong. Walk-In _ Creations. Look at that. When I type it in, oh, there it is. Fiverr over. It says no post. Oh, there we go. I don't know what it was. Phone was tweaking a little bit. So yes, because I also like to do, go hard with the presentation and things like that. It's not as easy to get, to every single custom I do to spend a ton of time with the presentation, the photography, all of that type of stuff. So, all right, let's review this Walk-In Creation. So, read the bio real quick. Customs and restorations, Decatur, Illinois, icing soles and making yellow white wine sole separation. Yes, we will ship. One-stop shop. DM for inquiries. Okay, so just going to scroll real quick, get a feel for the page. Before and after one icing session. Little video here. Little video edit. Final product. Some close-ups. Stain removal. Okay. Okay, so one thing that I would consider right away, since it looks like you do a lot of restoration work also. I'm not a restorer per se. So, but what I would consider is I like this picture here a little bit more where it says before and after. Right now I have it right in the middle of the screen. This picture right here. The top is the after and the bottom is the before, obviously. And you can see there's something visually pleasing about seeing a before and after because you get to see one dirty one and one clean one. Whereas with some of this other stuff, specifically this first one, all I'm looking at here when I'm viewing your feed, picture your feed as a museum, okay? Picture this feed right here as your portfolio. All I'm seeing right here is a dirty yellow soles, whereas here in the second one, I'm getting to see them a lot cleaner. Also, just my recommendation before and after is to really show the impact. Take the photos in the exact same spot. So here you can see your indoors on your workstation, dirty yellow soles, and now now you get to see the icy soles. They look a lot better. You definitely iced them out, but the lighting's different. The setup is different. So before and afters work best in the same location. And then I would consider having the before and after as the main photo that appears on your feed. So this would work a lot better if the left shoe was dirty and then the right shoe was clean or something like that. Or even if you edit the first photo that appears to be, this is why it's also great to take the before and after photos in the same location, because you could edit it, make essentially like a little collage and show the before and after, so that when you're viewing your feed like this as a museum, as I'm doing right now, I get to see a quick little snapshot of that before and after. And then you could have a carousel post where you have, the before picture and the after picture and things like that. So just curating your feed to be a little bit more like a museum is what I would recommend. And this picture right here is a great example of that. And yeah, that is what I would say. Here's some cool stuff of the patches. little video of them. I like the wide range of content. You have a lot of carousel posts, a lot of videos, cool stuff, but just so much of the feed is the before pictures. And although it's what you do, you take dirty shoes and clean them up. That's great. That's your business. But when I'm just viewing the feed like this, all I'm kind of blasted with right away is a ton of dirty shoes. And that's just not pleasing to the eye. So just rethinking how your feed looks when somebody's viewing it for the first time, because that's what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So what's going to catch my eye right away? That is what I would consider. And then here in your little story highlights, you could have a highlight for all of your unyellowings, you know what I mean? And then your Jordan 5 Fire Red unyellowing, your Concord 11 unyellowing, and then another section for your midsole repaints, and then just your dirty cleanups and things like that. So a lot of cool stuff that you could play with for restorations. But great work, Walking Creations, and another Illinoisan. There's not a great word for Illinoisans, peoples, but Decatur. So not too far from me. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. The next one we were going to do, let me see here. Carlos Flores. The page is JJ Customs with a Z up. Custom, two Z's in customs. Always got to make sure. I think this is it. Please confirm with me, JJ, if this is your page, because in your super chat you didn't have the dot next to JJ, but let me know if this is you before I start critiquing it. Let me know. Let me know. Just waiting on confirmation of that. But one thing that I would at least consider here as I was typing this in is JJ, if I just type in customs, how it might more regularly be spelled. There's a page also at the top here that you guys can see is JJ Customs LLC. And it's not shoes. This is automobile work or tiny little cars. That's cool. But anyways, just something to consider when people are searching you up is the name now, because you have competition, as you can see. So JJ Customs, intermediate artist, prices depend on complexity of the artwork, English, Espanol, about 1 to 1.5 weeks of processing. Let's see what we have on the story. Thanks to every single one of you for 500 followers. Awesome stuff. Just hit the 500 mark. So let's see here. These are, I believe, cycling shoes, right? But look at this. I believe these are cycling shoes, but look at this underwater scene. My goodness. And you said this is by your son. I'm assuming he's decently young. Look at that. The scuba diver. Wow. Wow. Good stuff. So I like this too, that you have the stuff separated in rows and then you give a lot of different angles. I'm a fan of that. We got some butterfly Air Forces. Those look good. I love the different angles. You know what I mean? Dig it. Looks like you do. I hope I'm correct in saying that these are cycling shoes. Cool stuff. Scooby-Doo, check that out. JJ, if you don't mind, let me know how old your son is, because this is some talented work. Cool stuff. Oh, look at the more comic. That's all painted too. Wow. Yeah, look at this, guys. We got to zoom in there on that. That's painted. That's painted. I could tell. That's not no print or anything crazy like that. That's painted. That is good stuff. I think that's painted. I think it's painted, and if it's painted, damn is it painted good, because all of those colors are saturated. Look at the line work. Look at the line work. Look at the line weights. Look at how even and clean everything is. That is, wow. To do a Murakami pair, I'm going to feel bad if those aren't painted, because I'm giving these major props, because all the colors are saturated and all of the line weights are phenomenal. 16 years old. Incredible stuff, Carlos. Wow. Carlos, if you don't mind, oh, your son's page is up here. Jonathan, right? Jonathan is the artist. Yeah, check this out. Jonathan Flores. Yep, look at it. His page has a bunch of cycling and stuff, so those are cycling shoes. Shout out to Jonathan Flores. 16 years old, my goodness. Look out, world. Some Tupac Air Forces with the Supreme and LV print. Cool stuff. Yeah, man, there's some, this is impressive work. Watermelon Air Forces. Bape Air Forces. This is impressive stuff. And he's gotten better, I can tell. If I look at a pair like these, this looks, just as we can tell, check out some of the edges. The paint colors aren't as saturated. This has a little bit more of a beginner type look, whereas some of the other stuff, my goodness, phenomenal. So that was, let's check the date there, March. And this is months later. I mean, this is some serious work. So he has improved significantly in just a few months. Buttery soft gradients on this Pokemon pair. Look at this yellow to blue gradient right here. That's not an easy gradient, guys. Beautiful. Squirtle, Bulbasaur. Look at the setting for Bulbasaur too. Love it. Charmander. Look at that little bit of airbrushing behind him. Good stuff. Wow. My favorite pair has to be these underwater ones, though. Look at that. So look at this real quick, guys. Look at this versus this pair. 3 months time difference, and wow, has the work improved. Phenomenal work. Big shout out to Jonathan at 16 years old. Really good stuff. What would I say could improve? What I would like to see next is, look at this Sonic pair too. Those are awesome. I want to see some shots of these with, it looks like Jonathan's really into cycling and bikes and whatnot. That is not my area of expertise at all. So I would like to see some shots of the cycling shoes with the bikes outdoors. Put them in the right setting, you know what I mean? Since they're cycling shoes, put them up against the bike outside. I would love to see some of that stuff for sure. So great stuff here. We had huge shout out to Jonathan, and so that's the only thing I would say. But wow, are you already making some huge strides? Good stuff. Good stuff. We had 2 other super chats come in from Petra Painter. A super long Instagram. It almost seems like a fake name, but I will check it out because he sent in a super chat. And then there's another one also. So there was 2 super chats. But after those guys, I do have to call it a day because I do have to get going. All right. So those are, I got to say, those will be the last 2. And I got to make these 2 quick anyway. So the name from Petra is anonymous _ 4_life 456. And it says, it's my first ever custom advice. Okay, so pair of slides. Finished product, My Hero Academia custom sliders. Cool stuff. Okay, so the advice that I will give here is, this is something you will hear in the tattoo world. It's considered the proper way for the direction of artwork. So if I were to get a forearm tattoo, I'm supposed to get the tattoo so that when you look at it, it is the correct placement for you. But when I look at it like this and I'm viewing my forearm, it should be upside down. So let's say I was getting a big portrait of, let's say I'm getting the Looney Tunes, a portrait of the Looney Tunes on my forearm. I'm supposed to get it on this direction so that when you view my forearm, you see it like this, okay? But when I'm looking at my forearm right now, it's upside down. So when you get a tattoo, it's supposed to be so that when somebody's looking at you, they see it right side up, you see it upside down. So with these slides right now, when you view them from the top down, it looks correct. But now when I'm the viewer, there's no way for me to show this rotation thing, but when somebody's looking at your feet right now, the imagery is upside down, okay? So I would flip that. That is my one critique that I would say. about just the direction, but you will definitely see some people get tattoos so that when they view them, because they'll say, hey, the tattoo's for me. I don't care about when you see it. It's for when I see it. It's right side up. But that's just considered, I guess, etiquette to get it in that type of direction. But the artwork on them looks solid. The characters look cool. I'm not familiar with this anime at all, so I can't speak on it too intricately. But it looks solid. It looks cool. Cool stuff. Not sure what pair of slides these are. But yeah, I would just say flip that direction. And for a first time, solid stuff. Cool work. Cool work. Yeah, I like how they turned out. I'm not sure if they were done with Angelus or another paint. The only thing I would say also is that they do look like, I'm looking at the green in this character's hair. It looks a little chalky. So if you did use Angelus and maybe you used duller, you might have used a little bit too much duller because it does have a little bit of a chalky look. But that might just be because of the material of the slide or maybe a different paint or something like that because it's the first time. But that's just what I would say. And then we had one more super chat here. This will be our final thing of the day. Let's see it here from Johnny's Life. I messed up a pair of white Air Forces. How do I remove the paint? The color is blue. I used acetone, but it didn't work because you can see the blue a little bit. Please help. Insta JBL Custom Footwear. JBL Custom Footwear. Okay. Okay, so I don't think you have. I wasn't sure if you had a picture of the shoes up on the Instagram, but I don't see it there. So you used acetone, but it didn't work. Johnny, let me know a little bit more. First off, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Let me know if you, what is the end design you are trying to paint on there? Because, you know, when you use the acetone, yeah, it spreads, and you're not going to be able to get it completely white again. But I'm assuming you are still going to paint over it, in which case that's fine because the paint is quickly going to cover up any of that smearing or anything like that. So let me scroll down and see what Johnny has. Let me see. No, it's not on Insta. Sorry. Yeah, Johnny. So let me know. Do you still plan on painting them? Hopefully you do. Hopefully you do still plan on painting them because, yeah, if I were to just take a bunch of acetone to these, it would smear and I would not be able to get them completely white again. But as long as you're painting them, it's going to cover up. So, yes. Let me see in the chat. My iPad just died. Let me see if I see anything from Johnny. Give me 1 sec. Okay, chat won't load, but Johnny, reach out to me on Instagram. Send me a picture of them, and I'll give you, my feedback at DeJesus Custom Footwear on Instagram. iPad just died, so I can't see the chat anymore. I saw there were 2 more super chats. I'll get to those. But yeah, shoot me a DM and send me a picture of them. Let me know your plan for them, and I'll let you know what I suggest. Let me read these last 2 super chats. Embody Design, thank you, says, thanks for being such a great teacher in the community. And if you have time for one more, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Embody Design. All right, guys, this has to be the last one. I gotta go. I feel like a cheap hooker right now that I'm selling my time, but I really appreciate you guys sending in all these super chats. So let's see. Embody.design. Okay. Hand-painted shoes, made to order, female customizer and artist, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Okay. I mean, the feed right away, I'm impressed. I love all the mock-up stuff down here. I love that. I love the mock-up work. Huge fan of that. That's underrated. More people should post dope mock-ups. And, you go out of your way to have a cool setting for the background and stuff. This is awesome. Love the mock-up stuff. Don't see enough of that. Cartoon Air Forces, the Powder Puff Girls. And this is even Photoshops also. Yeah. But you're showing what can be ordered, so that's cool stuff. Cartoon Air Force. Now this is painted, so that's cool. Oh, here's the painted version of the Powder Puffs. Yeah, look at that. So hopefully somebody ordered them based off of seeing this, because that's super cool. So, here's you posting a mock-up, and it looks real. A lot of people would probably think that's real. I only know that because I use Photoshop all the time. So here's the painted version, and you delivered. They look phenomenal. They look awesome. Love those. This is cool here too. Super bold and colorful. Neon Air Max 90s. Love those. Love this setting for these butterfly Air Forces, just in the shrubs and whatnot. New setups and projects. Really cool work here. Dig those. Big fan of this page. I love the mock-up work. I really can't say that enough, that I'm a big fan of taking advantage of that. Photography, solid. This is a solid photo. I saw a video time-lapse somewhere, right? Yeah, here. Because you have so many different forms of content already, the mock-ups, the finished photos, I would say keep trying different variations of different forms of content. So I like the videos. Continue to do more videos. See what works for you. And great stuff. This is a good page. I'm a fan. Look at these. That's cool too. Look at those strawberries. Look at how good that looks. That's painted. That's not Photoshop. That's good stuff. I'm a fan. Photography is solid here too. Believe me, like none of this is what I would say is poor photography, or hey, this does not work as a photo for a premium product or anything like that. Good stuff. Yeah, these are awesome. I'm a big fan of these, but my favorite pair that I see here is probably the Powder Puff Air Forces. Those came out awesome. And these are great too. The Strawberry Drip Air Forces, that's awesome. Really good stuff. And yeah, I look forward to seeing more from you. And our final super chat from Marl Dane. Thank you so much, Dylan. Let's get this community gathered together. Post your Instagram in the chat. Pause the video. And everyone follow each other. Absolutely. Everybody go ahead. Please take the time to, follow some of the other members here in this community. Show them some love on Instagram. That's how we can all grow together. It is free to give engagement to others. It's as simple as double tapping on their photos, leaving likes, leaving comments saying, hey, I like what you did here, giving them some feedback, things like that. That's how we can continue to grow this community, help each other out, help each other grow. Don't worry, there is plenty for all of us to eat. So again, thank you guys for joining us for today for another episode of DCF Live. Go ahead and make sure you check out 2 videos we dropped this week. We got 2 more coming at you next week. Tons of great content. The 2 videos this week, how to do this tie-dye sock liner on these Chunky Dunky Jordan 1s. And then we had a artist guess the price. Next week we have reviewing your customs and a artist reacts to TikTok videos. So 2 good ones next week. Should be announcing the next contest, also the next DCF contest with a nice little grand prize for the winner and a chance to be on reviewing your customs. So that's always exciting. So yes, that's going to do it. Everybody have a great and safe weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. Truly appreciate all of the mods and everybody who's helping everyone else out in the chat, answering people's questions. That's always great. Great to see you guys chopping it up with each other in the chat. Love to see the community grow. So thank you guys again for joining, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.